After I got out of the Marine Corps, coming back home, it was just a mental breakdown for me. I was on the verge of giving up. That chapter, that season in my life was over. Now what? Who was I? That's what I kept asking myself. The pressure to have it all together, to heal, to quiet down the monsters inside, it was too much. I lost it. I had heard about the Wounded Warrior Project. I had seen the logo and that visual of a warrior carrying another warrior. The programs that the Wounded Warrior Project offers, it's not just the veteran themselves, it's their whole family. It brings it all together. We have scars that we carry, and just because the scars are there doesn't mean that we're any less than what we were. Right now, I'm the best version that I ever have been of myself. I can embrace the brokenness.
You wouldn't go into battle alone. You don't have to fight this alone. Visit woundedwarriorproject.org/notalone.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for kids, teens, or young adults. It's just not.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals and volatile organic compounds into your body.
And nicotine, the same highly addictive substance found in regular cigarettes.
Nicotine can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s,
affecting learning, memory, attention, and impulse control, and priming the brain for other addictions.
Vaping products also come in kid-friendly flavors that can make them appealing to youth.
And many kids also use other drugs, like marijuana, in vaping devices.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media,
many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping, because when you talk, they hear you.
You're listening to 95.7 FM, 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls and 1460 WMBA Ambridge.
Welcome to The Entrepreneur Life with attorney and author Rocco Koza, along with realtor and podcaster Eric McKenna. Content and sponsorship are being provided by Rocco Koza and Eric McKenna. Now let's join our show host for today's program on Beaver County Radio.
And welcome to The Entrepreneur Life. Eric McKenna, along with Mr. Rocco Koza, live in studio. And, of course, the accomplished and the creme de la creme of producers in radio in Pittsburgh. Mr. Matt Dursick, how are you, sir?
In Pittsburgh. Wow, you're already just going for the gauntlet as far as compliments today.
I am not leaving any stone unturned.
No, you're not.
I'm burning it all down. We are killing it today.
Let's do it, man.
Yeah.
It was good to be back.
Yeah, glad to have you back.
Yeah.
It was weird.
He had to deal with me for 3 weeks. About 3 weeks, right? 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
No, it was 3.
It was 3.
Yeah.
It was
golfing and then vacation, yeah.
Which, by the way, Rocco, heard about your haircut. Glad to see you survived.
You know what? There's still a bump there.
Is there really?
Yeah. It's been 3 weeks and there's still a little egg there.
Did you go into detail with what exactly happened?
I can't remember if I did or not.
I don't think you did. I know you did.
Not on here.
On our father-son podcast that Rocco and I did on the Eric McKenna Project. He went into it in a great deal, but I think it's comical and it's funny. I think you should enlighten our audience.
I would be happy to.
What happened at the final hole of the Hope for Ghana charity golf outing?
Yes. Well, let's preface it. Great day of golf. Had a blast. For charity, for a great charity, Dr. Steve Green, we sponsored every year.
Great guy.
It was Matt and Ben from my office, myself and my son Gabe, our foursome, playing decent golf all day. Well, they were, I wasn't. We had some beer, I guess you would say. And some interesting things happened along the way, and we decided to start, drinking beer a little bit faster via shotgunning them. And we get to the last hole. Now, the carts on this course were gas-powered carts, and I don't believe they had governors, so they went really fast. And you didn't really notice it until you were going downhill. So we get to the last hole, and all tee off. We hit our shots, and Matt must have shanked his, and then mine was over here. So the first thing that happens on the last hole is Matt, they're driving the golf cart down the hill, and he like reaches out as he's driving to grab his ball while the cart is going and just tumbles out of the cart and starts barrel rolling down the hill. I mean, I'm not saying once or twice, like 10, 15 times, where I think he hurt his shoulder. So that happens. Ben gets out of the cart and starts walking because he's uncontrollably laughing. Like, luckily, Matt didn't get too injured. So then Gabe and I, we go to the top of the hill to get one of our balls. In the course, it was rainy, so it was wet. Gabe's driving. And so we're like, okay, we're going to go hit someone else's ball. So we get our balls, we get in the cart, and he turns a little bit too tight. And as he's turning, I have my hand on the outside of the cart, and I'm leaning out of it a little bit. I'm like, oh no, I feel like we're going to tip over. And it's happening so fast, but so slow.
It's slow motion.
And we start tipping, and luckily I pull my head, and I would have probably been decapitated.
Wow.
So the cart falls, the roof of the cart smashes the top of my head, cuts me on the side of my head, and then Gabe, who's my size, falls on top of me. So my entire body just gets destroyed. He gets up, he's fine. I'm laying on the ground for a little bit. I'm pretty sure I had a concussion. So we get up. These guys come, they see what happened. Like, oh, you guys okay? Yeah, we're fine. I'm like, I don't think I'm fine, but I had blood on my hand, blood on my head. We pick up the cart. Cart's out of gas. All the gas spilled out. So you just had to leave the cart on the course.
Oh, jeez.
So we walk back. Now, meanwhile, we're like one of the main sponsors of this event. Didn't even make it to the dinner. Didn't make it to the dinner, so I'm pretty sure I had a concussion. We left. Oh,
wow.
So we get to the parking lot.
You weren't supposed to speak or anything, were you?
I don't know. Last year Steve had me come up and speak, and I went up and spoke for a few minutes. I don't know, but I texted him, said, "Hey, may have a concussion, not going to make the dinner." So we get to the car, we're putting our stuff away, and I'm like, I'm out of it. You can just tell. And I'm like, is it bad? Is it bad? Like, no, you're good. Well, they lied to me, because when I got home, and Melina comes home that day, and she's like, oh, what happened to your head? It wasn't, I mean, if you saw the movie Coneheads, my head swelled up like that.
You have an egg.
I mean, egg is an understatement. It was like a basketball. I mean, I'm not even kidding. You could visibly see how big it was.
And you didn't go to the doctors?
No, I didn't. I'm Gen X. We're built different.
Yeah, I guess. I
well,
don't know.
What was funny is once the alcohol wore off and I'm sitting there on the couch, my entire body hurt. Because Gabe fell on me, I fell, cart fell on top of me, blood. It was a rough day. And 3 weeks later, I still have a bump on my head. So I'm sure I probably cracked my skull or something. There's probably something major wrong, but I feel good.
And men do this activity, drinking and golfing, for fun.
It was fun. Trust me, we had a great time.
They do it for fun.
Well, see, the golf part was okay. It was the driving part that almost hurt somebody.
That's like Matt and I were playing another golf outing on the 18th. We're like, yeah, I don't think either one of us should probably be driving a cart. I think I may walk this course.
So the funny thing about this is Gabe is the one driving, right?
Yeah, he's the one driving.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then he goes a week later and gets in a car with Gabe, lets Gabe drive him all the way to Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, but Rocco was inside the car this time. That's different.
Right. I think he started out inside the golf cart.
It's not like Rocco was running all the way down to Myrtle Beach trying to avoid getting hit by Gabe the whole time.
But I could at least say in my life a golf cart has fell on top of me.
Oh, there's that.
Yeah. But it's
one for the resume.
But here's the thing: it's one of the that people talk about scenarios in life where it's happening so fast, but it's going you're so aware of what's happening. Like I knew this cart is falling, my head's gonna get smashed, and there's literally nothing I can do about it. As I'm just slowly tipping over, and this thing just smashes me on the head.
Sounds like my second marriage. Anyways, moving right along.
Moving on. So that's the story.
Moving right along. Yeah. So how was AM Beaver County this week, Matt?
It was all right. A little on the lax side. A couple of days where it was just me. But there was a couple other days we previewed the upcoming series of shows for the Community Concert Association. Trying to think. This week's been, for some reason, it's felt like a long time, even though it's only been a week. So
we have those, don't we?
Yeah, many weeks.
But it was just sort of a relaxed vibe, and we were able to get through it and make sure everybody had a good time. And wasn't a whole lot of hostility this week. None
That's
of the
good.
major topics came up. Not that there were a whole lot of major topics in the first place. So
No, it's just been a slow week. I think China's ready to blow up the whole world. But outside of the China thing, I mean, I can imagine.
Well, yeah, there was that.
People aren't that restless now.
That was the one little slight bit of hostility this week.
That's this week. It'll be something completely different next week.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Oh, yeah. Then they'll do it, and we'll have plenty to talk about.
Well, yeah, that would be. Oh, yeah. Hopefully,
Let's
hopefully
hope-
not.
let's hope not.
not. Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
We don't. World War III is not something we would like to
No.
observe. It wouldn't even be interesting.
No. Your 30s just turns you into a doomsdayer, man. You turn 30, and all of a sudden you're talking about World War III.
I've been in talk radio for how long now?
So does it actually feel any different in your 30s?
Not yet.
now?
Not yet.
You haven't felt anything.
No.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's coming.
I'm sure it will.
It's coming, man. Don't worry.
No, man.
Maybe by the time I hit
Come on.
40s, my 30s will hit. So
Yeah, I mean,
It hits different, man.
does it? I mean, the 40.
I
thing-
love my 40s. I love them.
The 40 thing didn't hit me at all. 50 was like a moment where I sat back and said, "Ooh, that's a big number.
Mhm.
That's like half a century." Because you're getting all the jokes too. You know, oh, you're half century. Yeah, I get it, right? But I think 60 is gonna be something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Like next year, right?
No.
Okay.
Years from now. Years from now.
I got to bring humor back to the show, man. Come on, back in the studio. I got to play some
I-
pent-up humor.
I guess. But you wear it well, my friend.
Thank you.
I was talking to him.
I thought you were talking to me.
oh, thank you.
Man, I tell you
Listen,
what.
man. We don't know what's going on right now.
I don't. So, anyways, Matt does not have a heads up on what we'd like to talk about today. Not that we give him a heads up all the time, but he actually has no heads up right now.
No.
So, I had a circumstance this week where I had some service folks to come to the house, and then talking with Rocco, he coincidentally had the same kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And both of us had the same impression of how we were treated by the service folks. Not badly. Not, we weren't treated in a coarse manner or a disrespectful manner. But neither of these examples, there wasn't any, no one exuded kindness. No one kind of went like a little bit above and beyond. No one was even pleasant.
Yeah.
And that entered the conversation about entrepreneurs and the necessity for maybe reevaluating, do you have a default mechanism of kindness? Is that how you already operate? If it is, fantastic. Carry that right into your venture. It should be easy, right? And you'll see how it benefits you. But if you are a person who can self-evaluate, and if you're honest with yourself and you do not have a default mechanism of kindness as you maneuver through your day, it may be something to look in the mirror and say, hey, maybe this could be an option to improve not only my life, but improve this new venture I'm at. Maybe I will get more flies with honey. Maybe I'll get, if I give a little more kindness, maybe my business will get a little more. If you can't do it for yourself, do it for your business, right?
Yeah, I mean, the first question I would ask if you don't have that default mechanism is why? Like, why don't you have that?
He's going right there.
Well, I mean, but I think that's an important question, right? I think if you're getting into any business venture where you're going to be dealing with people, customers, vendors, clients, suppliers, you're going to be human dynamics plays a huge part in that, right? So if you don't have a default mechanism of kindness, decency, pleasantness, why? Like, why are you that way? Like, what is your default mechanism then? So I would ask that question of someone. If kindness and decency and just smiling is not your default, what is your default? Like, why are you guarded? Why are you defensive? Because that's what I believe the default is. If you're not wired for kindness and being open and pleasant, your default is you're on defense all the time.
And this is an absolutely relevant discussion because I can tell you multiple examples of sole proprietors, small business people, 1 or 2, 3 people operations that I'm familiar with just in the landscape of my life over the years who are miserable people. Miserable SOBs. Man. It's just people that you would look at and interact with, and you would say, how in the world is this person running a successful plumbing company if they treat their customers the way they seem to treat everybody else?
Yeah.
Or you just know people that have that now, and they've made it in spite of that.
Well, that's what it is.
Which is incredible.
Correct.
But what I want to do is I want to turn it to Matt for a second. So
Okay.
we are going to talk about kindness and the benefits of it as they relate not only to life, but certainly as it relates to business too. When you're out there and you're just going through your life and you're interacting with folks, whether it's work environment, whether it's convenience mart, whether it's anywhere, even say at a restaurant, maybe it's a bar, a bunch of people you're going down to relax with. Do you think that for the most part, people are generally kind, or generally have a default mechanism of kindness toward others? Do you think that we are no longer in that kind of environment today?
That's tough.
Deep questions.
It is tough. I will say, I think
that's why I podcast.
I don't think we're in an age of that, but I will say I think we're starting to lean a little bit towards that, because I think there is, and I think we've talked a billion times on here about social media. We're going to talk about it a billion times more. But I think
in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
No, Matt, we're done talking about social media. Put it on the shelf. It's over.
What I was going to say is that in the information age, we tend to know more scenarios about instances where acts of kindness have kind of gone off the deep end.
Okay.
Where and obviously those examples are few and far between, but the sheer possibility of them, I think, is a major sort of red flag for a lot of people. Now, it doesn't mean that they don't want to be kind. They just know that if they get a little too kind and things get a little too out of hand, that they could be putting their kindness and energy into the wrong hands. Because one of the other things we know about this era of information and so much truth is that there is plenty of the opposite. There are plenty of lies. There's plenty of facades. I mean, you bring up the bar example where people walk into a bar and say, "Hey, I'm a nice guy. I'm doing a decent thing with my life," and then all of a sudden you see an ID documentary about them 5 years later. So again, I don't think we're there yet, but I think we're leaning towards that. As far as entrepreneurship, though, that I think is probably even a little less, and or maybe the perspective of that is that they don't want to come across as either too kind or something like that. I mean, the way you were describing the one situation, I think the one that Rocco said too, is that it wasn't coarse or negative, but it was kind of cold, I guess would be the proper term.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's maybe just a matter of either trying to stay objective or trying to, maybe it's the defense of they don't want to get taken advantage of. Like as soon as they start being nice, a lot of people will take the idea of nice as sort of, I'm willing to help you out and, do whatever you need. And all of a sudden it expands from the objective that was already there to something that's much larger and unobtainable.
See, I think the problem is kindness and niceness are two different things.
Okay, let's delineate.
No, I truly believe this because I think, one, so let me take a step back. So I think you were talking about like the person in the bar they say I'm a nice guy. Like if you have to tell people you're a nice guy, you're not a nice guy.
True.
That's right. Let's start there. Like I hate when people say, "Why you tell people something? You just either are or you aren't," and people will know, right? But to the point of to entrepreneurs, right? A lot of entrepreneurs think they equate kindness with weakness, and it's completely the wrong way to look at the world. Kindness is the way you treat other people with decency and respect, right? That's what I believe. You do the right thing in a decent and respectful way. Niceness is you're just agreeable, you're amiable, or I can't think of the word.
Amicable.
Amicable, yeah, and you're.
I actually recommended a word to you.
Yeah, I couldn't get it out, man. But it's like you're agreeable to everybody, and you can get pushed around. Like I'm a kind person, but I also have convictions, and I will go to battle with anybody if I have to. Don't mistake my kindness with weakness. I mean, it's one of my biggest strengths, but I think from the niceness and kindness debate, people equate the two, and they're completely different.
I agree with you 100%.
And because I know people that are nice that get walked all over, and they think, they're like, well, I'm like, no, you're a nice person. Kindness is different. Like you're nice, like, you'll do whatever people want to do. Like you're a people pleaser. You're too agreeable, and that's why you get walked all over because you don't have a backbone. And that's a horrible thing to say, but it's true, and I see it, especially in the entrepreneur world. And that's why I think they go the opposite direction and take this defensive position because they think, well, maybe their default is kindness and they are a good person, But they're saying, well, I don't want to get walked all over, so I'm a business person. I've got to come out hard and be tough and I think that's a completely wrong way to look at it.
They think they have to do the walking.
Correct.
So Matt said, earlier that maybe they don't want to be too kind, and my argument is you can be too nice.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
for reasons you just stated, but you can never, ever,
Agreed.
ever be too kind in
Agreed.
this world.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah, in my opinion. Again, that's just my definitions of the two words, but your point was well taken.
Yeah.
I just think the delineation is important to have, because we need kindness in this
100%
interesting world
Right.
we're maneuvering in right now.
Well, the problem is that, a lot of people, most people, I would imagine, they're able to be kind, they're able to be nice, but they aren't able to delineate between the two. Delineation is not part of their, and I think that's part of it too, where, especially when it comes to dealing with somebody new, whether it's an entrepreneur or somebody else, that a lot of people will make that first impression the default for them and either be too lazy or too afraid to understand that, hey, they're a human being. They might have a bad side, or they might have another side different to what this is. And it's because of that I think we run into situations where, you have this sort of shock value of seeing someone either be kind or not kind to you, and that's what you stick with. And that's just not how people are.
You know what else happens, Rocco, too, is I think that we have, in certain circumstances in society, we have equated kindness, unfortunately, with weakness.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right.
And that little segment of society, I think, has grown, unfortunately. That idea has grown.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can get back that. This is good stuff, but we're going to dive in a little bit here and how maybe just switching on that default of kindness can help your business. It certainly will help your life. Friends, The Entrepreneur Life, Rocco Koza, Eric McKenna, Matt Durzik. We will return.
Did you know that facial expression, body language, and voice inflection account for almost 70% of how the spoken word is interpreted? How you appear, how clearly you can speak, and how confident you are when you smile, eat, and talk can impact almost every aspect of your life. Regular dental care from St. Barnabas Dental in Beaver affects much more than just your teeth. Even sleeping patterns can be improved with oral care from St. Barnabas Dental. Dr. Henry Windle and Dr. Jason Stracola offer life-changing solutions by restoring dental health, function, and appearance. Proper expression and greater overall life enjoyment start with the team at St. Barnabas Dental. Call St. Barnabas Dental, located on Tuscaroras Road in Brighton Township, at 724-495-3350. It's dental care that's apart from the ordinary. Click stbarnabashealthsystem.com.
Hey, it's the Beaver Valley Community Concert Association proudly announcing its exciting 2022-23 season. Show number 1, Atlantic City Boys, Tuesday, September 20th at 7:30 p.m. Show number 2, Nick and Desi, Broadway Song, Dance, and Romance, Saturday, October the 8th at 7:30 p.m. Show number 3, Sail On, the Beach Boys Tribute, Thursday, November 17th at 7:30 p.m. Concerts held at the Beaver Falls Middle School Auditorium. For more information, contact Peggy McCullough, 724-846-3203. Please visit our website, www.bbcommunityconcert.org. Adult tickets, $60. Student tickets, $10. Or purchase a ticket at the door, $25 for adults. Student tickets, $5. That's the Beaver Valley Community Concert Association.
This is Chuck Wilson speaking to you. This broadcast is sent your way as a public service of the Jones and Loughlin Field.
In our first 75 years, Beaver County Radio has had over 400 employees, 10 owners, 9 of the coolest station vehicles ever, and 1 radio station cat. Who knows what the next 75 years will bring? It's the Diamond Anniversary year of 99.3 FM, 95.7 FM, WBVP, and WMVA.
All right, we're back. The Entrepreneur Life. Rocco Koza, Matt Durzik. I am Eric McKenna. We're here every Saturday from 10:30 to 12:30 on the Blowtorch, WBVP and WMBA. And, of course, Matt Durzik taking care of business here as usual, keeping us legal and keeping us actually on air.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. If you have anything that you'd like to contribute to the concept of kindness, preferably as it relates to business and experiences, good or bad. Love to hear good experiences. We know there's probably a ton of bad experiences out there. But either way, we'd like to hear from you. 724-843-1888 and 724-774-1888. It just flows so good, you know?
It roll off the tongue.
It does. It does. Matt will do his darndest to get you on here. And again, we're talking about kindness and how it relates to business, and particularly for those who are starting a business, new entrepreneurs. I think it's an edge. Now,
100%.
The reality is, Rocco, it's kind of goofy that we even have to say that kindness is a competitive edge when it really, I would think it should be everyone's default mechanism for a better life in general, right?
But it's not.
It's not.
Look at society today.
It's
That's
not.
the problem, right? So it's not. We've become very guarded as a society. We become very jaded. And so, they teach us about kindness in
Turn off the news.
Well, right. The fact, like I said, we were talking in the corner way here, the fact that I did a TED Talk on the power of kindness in business.
Yes,
you did. The fact that made it as a topic shows how messed up the world is, that we need. And I cannot tell you how many people came up to me afterwards and said, that hit home. We need to talk about this more. I feel this way, but I can't talk about it at work because people are shunned because again, people are equating kindness into weakness when it's not. And people in corporate America and these big businesses, they think if I'm too nice, I'm not going to climb the corporate ladder. I've got to be cutthroat. I've got to be hard. I've got to be this, this hard-nosed business person when that's not. The studies are out there. The kinder you are as a leader, the more successful your company is.
Oh, 100%. And for those who are not in the loop as to what Rocco is referring to, Rocco Koza, and I would just go to YouTube, friends, and just type in Rocco's name and type in TEDx or TED Talk. Rocco, you have to be accepted to give a TED Talk. It's I just can't walk up there and say, hey, let me talk on your floor tonight.
No.
It's
like the audition. You have to be
But
invited.
anyways, Rocco was invited to speak at a TEDx talk. I think it was in Toronto.
It was in Canada. Yeah.
In Toronto.
Wow. Yep.
And his whole they give you 12 minutes.
12 minutes.
12
minutes. The hardest talk I've ever given.
I know you did a great job.
Thank you.
I think that's what, believe it or not, that was one of the first things that I saw right before we connected.
Yeah, that's right.
But his talk was on kindness, how it applies to business and life, and how it's lacking, and can I say it? The competitive advantage it can give you. So what we're talking about today, he made it the framework of his TED Talk. What, 7 years ago?
No, it's 2019 actually.
Really?
I thought January 2019.
Okay, so it's only 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow, time flies.
Okay. I know it does.
Okay,
yeah.
But that. So when you were, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
When you were compelled to write this, did the essay come before the TED Talk, or did you get accepted for a TED Talk and then had to find the subject?
No, the subject, and it's actually in the beginning of the TED Talk where I talk about how it came up. I was talking to high school kids.
Right.
It was either high school or middle school, and because I was doing talks on entrepreneurship, and one of the kids at the end asked, what's the most important thing in if we could take one thing away, what's the most important thing to be successful in business? And my instant answer was kindness, and everyone in that room looked like deer in headlights. And I'm like, there's a problem, and that's when I started dawning on me this generation has no idea the power of this. And that's when I started framing this. Okay, this is important. I asked some other people, one of my lawyer friends. I spoke with this women's leaders in the law event and was doing some coaching there, and one of the women there basically said the same thing. She said, I get rated poorly on my performance reviews because I'm too nice. I'm like, that's not how this world should be working. So I started framing this talk, and then actually a company reached out to me to put me up for TED Talks. They saw my Instagram profile, and I said, yeah, this is exactly what I'm going to talk about. So once I got accepted, I wrote the talk, and I had to do research, and I did a ton of research on it to have the statistics. And it truly is. Like, the data's out there to support it. If you are a kind and empathetic leader, you will have a way more successful company because it leads to higher creativity, higher profitability, higher productivity, because what it mainly does as a leader, right? If I'm a kind and empathetic leader, my employees will take more chances and take more risks because I've removed the fear of consequences. They know I'm going to have their back. They know I'm going to support them. They know I'm going to guide them and mentor them. Even if they make a mistake, we'll figure it out. So they now will push the envelope a little bit farther, a little bit harder, because they know I've removed the fear of consequence. If I was a different type of leader, I was mean and aggressive, then they're going to do enough to not get fired. And that's when you see organizations that just do enough. Look at the leaders, and I guarantee those leaders are not kind. They're not empathetic.
They're in job preservation mode.
Exactly right. That's what it is. And they're not going to push the envelope. They're not going to try different things. They're not going to be creative and innovative. And the data's out there. If you are in an organization with kind and empathetic leaders, you will ultimately be way more successful.
Just kind of wish that would rub off on our politicians. That's another story.
Other topic.
Another topic.
Yes. But as an entrepreneur, like, that's something to understand. Like, it's not just in big business. No. It's, in any business, large or small organization, it starts at the top. If you are the entrepreneur leading the charge, running the organization, running the business, the way you act and the way you operate in the world will impact everything. So take a look in the mirror and figure it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's some good, solid advice there. Mm-hmm. All right, friends, we're up against it again. Rocco Koza, Eric McKenna, Matt Dursick, The Entrepreneur Life on Beaver County Radio.
You don't have to do it this time around.
I'm going to say it, though. I'm going to say it. Oh, no, it's the news. Stay tuned for Town Hall News.
Yeah.
You're listening to 95.7 FM, 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls and 1460 WMBA Ambridge.
Breaking news this hour at townhall.com. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Former President Trump rallying Republican supporters last night in Wisconsin.
We're just 3 months away from the most important midterm election in American history, and we need a landslide so big that the radical left cannot rig it or steal it.
The Save America rally took place in Waukesha, Wisconsin. The annual Conservative Political Action Conference continuing today in Dallas, with former President Trump slated to deliver the keynote address. CPAC also highlights businesses like Patriot Mobile, that's America's only Christian conservative mobile service provider, and Lee Wamscons is Patriot's Vice President of Public Affairs and Government.
The bottom line is our business is a mission, and we exist to honor and protect our God-given rights. We focus on 4 things: First Amendment, Second Amendment, the sanctity of life, and we support our military and first responders. A portion of every dollar we earn goes back to those conservative organizations. That is who we are.
Wamscons adds her company encourages young people to take an active role in politics. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says China cannot isolate Taiwan.
They may try to keep Taiwan from visiting or participating in other places, but they will not isolate Taiwan by preventing us to travel there.
Pelosi says U.S. lawmakers will continue to pay visits to Taiwan. In eastern Kentucky, a slow cleanup and recovery is underway after flash flooding at the end of July. In Pinetop, Kentucky, Randall Vick says the floodwaters came through the door of his home and swept him away, along with his wife.
Only thing I said, no matter what or whatever happens, I love you.
More than 36 people died, and some are still missing as a result of those floods. More of these stories at townhall.com.
You were lied to when buying a timeshare and worn out? You need my help. Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, CEO and founder of Wesley Financial Group. 10 years ago, I started the timeshare cancellation industry by exposing the ugly truth about timeshare and giving folks the straight facts. I've been fighting the timeshare giants ever since, so no one knows this industry better than me and my team. Today we have 383 employees and have saved our clients an average of $65,000 in lifetime payments. Imagine putting those timeshare dollars back in your pocket. If you were told at a timeshare presentation that this was available today and today only, that timeshare was a great investment or your maintenance fees will never go up, call my office now. I guarantee you, if we take you as a client, we will cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call now for your free information kit. 800-881-4242. 800-881-4242. 800-881-4242.
Twitter says a still unknown number of owners of anonymous accounts might have had their identities compromised last year. Here's correspondent Tim McGuire with more details.
A since-fixed vulnerability in Twitter's software was apparently exploited by a malicious actor. While the company says it doesn't know the extent of the global exposure, the digital advocacy group Restore Privacy says data presumably obtained through the vulnerability was being sold for $30,000 on a popular hacking site, and more than 5 million identities may have been exposed. Many people with anonymous Twitter accounts do so to protect their profiles for security reasons that include fear of persecution by repressive authorities. The revelation comes at a time that Twitter is in a legal battle with billionaire Elon Musk over his effort to back out of his $44 billion offer to buy Twitter. I'm Tim McGuire.
Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. Florida continues a tradition of ridding itself of a problem that goes back to the 1970s.
More than 800 competitors from 32 states and Canada expected to trudge through the Florida Everglades over the next 8 days in search of invasive Burmese pythons. Cash prizes up to $2,500 are at stake for both novice and professional snake hunters who remove the most pythons in a humane manner. And there's still time to get in on the hunt. Registrations are being accepted throughout the competition. It'll cost you $25 to sign up, and you'll have to complete an online training course before you head out. Rhonda Rockstra reporting.
Hiring is booming in the U.S. The economy added 528,000 jobs in July, up from 398,000 in June, according to the latest job report out yesterday from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. But in many cases, wages are not rising as fast as prices, leading many workers to look for other new jobs. More from townhall.com.
Diamonds might be a girl's best friend, but the station that's been your ear's best friend since 1948 is celebrating its diamond anniversary year. Thanks for listening to Beaver County Radio.
Well, I've decided to be kind to you today, even though you do root for the Red Sox.
Yeah, that's fine.
We'll just kind of, we'll make an exception today, I suppose.
Listen, man.
I don't know.
It's okay.
Here's what's frustrating for me. Like, a long time ago, and I said it on this show, and I won't belabor the point, but a long, long time ago, I realized when I first got my first real job, my real desk job, things went easier for me. Good stuff happened for me. And the quality of my day was so much better when I was just nice to people. Maybe a little overly nice. To some, probably sickeningly nice. But I was very nice and helpful and kind and all that stuff. And yeah, I would get in the car sometime and I was in a bad mood on my way home. And maybe, it was a little bit of a show. But I made that my default mechanism because I knew my life would be better. And in turn, it would bleed into my personal life. Yeah. And I just figured that thing out, right? But in business, especially, Rocco, it yielded me better results in the business world and then ultimately in entrepreneurship if my default mechanism was kindness. It's not a hard concept. No. Yet, here we are talking about it on a Saturday.
Yeah. Well, I think, you're right. It is very simple. And smile at people. Be pleasant. Like, they're not complicated concepts, and there's so much upside. Like, what's the downside to smiling at someone?
Isn't that how you used to get a date?
Yeah, I feel like
in the before times. right?
I guess
he
so.
would smile and be kind, and wouldn't that like start the ball rolling?
But it also,
right?
you know, look,
Matt's got something to say.
I have a lot of things to say.
But I mean, no, really.
Yeah. I mean, look, you know, I'm in a profession where we're adversarial in nature, right? I'm a lawyer, and I've learned in my profession, I can diffuse a situation very easily and very quickly by just, when someone comes in the room, just shake their hand, smile, and look them in the face, say, how you doing today? How's your day? Like, just being pleasant.
Because no one's expecting the niceties.
Right, exactly. And then when you do that, you disarm somebody. They let their guard down. And then you can usually get, at least in my profession, you can usually get things done a lot quicker and a lot more efficient by just being nice.
Right on.
I mean, easy to give you statistics and all that. Absolutely.
I just don't know why it's such a lost concept, Matt.
I have a theory.
Let's hear it.
We were sort of talking in the first segment, and this is sort of what spawned it, is that, you know, the experiences you had, you know, they weren't, you know, coarse, or they weren't mean-spirited. They were just cold. Mm-hmm. And I think the thing that is being lost in all this is that when it comes to being kind, when it comes to those little things, even though they're little, they're still things that require effort. And I think that is the biggest thing that is lost over the course. Because I think, you know, because when you said, Rocco, that, you know, the kids you were talking to during that TED Talk, you know, were just surprised at the idea of kindness. I think their default, and I think this is the default for a lot of kids, is that as long as I'm not hurting anybody, as long as I'm not being coarse or being vicious or being cutthroat, I'm doing enough. And the reality is that from a, you know, everyday standpoint or an employee standpoint, you could get away with that. From an entrepreneur standpoint, you have no shot. None. Zero.
Well put.
Yeah. We talked about this on the car.
We certainly did. We were shaking our head because on the way down here, talking about this subject, we were having a conversation about, Rocco said basically that it requires effort.
Yeah.
And I reflected for a second like this. My mind wanted to explode because I don't view the concept of effort as being nice. It's just a thing you do, and you realize it's good for everybody. You know? I mean, it's not like that's not a laborious task, right? To be kind.
No, but like I said in the car, so I believe human beings are very egocentric in nature, right? So we're always thinking about ourselves and the things we have going on. So if we're stressed or we're upset, or we're always in our own head. So it does take effort to say, how is the world perceiving
mushrooms,
me?
Man, mushrooms.
No, listen, I'm saying, think about it. Okay,
just kidding.
But think about it. If you're having a day where you're just in your head, like things are going on, you're stressed, you're frustrated, you know, you may not be self-aware to understand how the world is. Like I do that. Like Mia will come in my office and she knows if I'm hangry or stressed or something's going on, and I'm not even aware of it. Like I have to stop, and it does take effort for me to stop what I'm doing and say, wait a minute, how am I coming off to other people? And what can I change in my demeanor to make sure they don't feel a certain way?
100%.
But that does, to Matt's point, it does take effort. It's not laborious, but it does take a certain level of effort and self-awareness and actual thought to look at it from a different person's perspective.
It does. I get that. But man, I mean, like,
yeah.
Well, I think the other thing too is going to the point I was making in the last segment where, you know, people are, you know, untrustworthy, and they are sort of, you know, worried about people lying to them and people having facades. I almost wonder if there's sort of a, you know, reverse psychology or reverse psychology that's going on, where people think that if I'm being overtly kind or overtly, you know, sort of optimistic in my style, that it may come across as phony. And they may, and again, sort of talk about that other perspective.
We need to quit that stuff.
Well, no, I agree with that. You know, we should just take people at face value. But, you know, I mean, there's probably a lot of people out there that say, you know, if someone comes up to you and says, you know, I hope you're having a wonderful day. It's really nice outside. It's like, what are they selling? You know, it's just, there's that theory of.
See, I don't think like that.
Yeah, see, I know exactly
what you're
Matt,
saying. I think it's valid,
it.
Matt, what
Absolutely.
you're saying. I just don't.
I understand that.
I don't maneuver like that.
Well, but I think to your point, Matt, I think there's a lot of inauthentic people that are pretending to be kind when they're not. I think if you're kind, you're kind. if you're a good person, you're a good person. If you want to do the right things, you're going to do the right things.
Right.
I think the people that think like that are the ones they're not authentic in nature. So the fact that they're thinking, well, if I act too kind, people are going to think a certain way about me, or that I'm just trying to sell them something. Like that thought never crosses my mind because that's just my nature. So I'm going to always be pleasant to people, and I don't really care what they think. That's not even crossing my. But I get what you're saying. There are people out there that think that way. That hey, if I act too nice, is this person going to think I have this ulterior motive?
And I think what that leads to is a lot of people will just go for a absolute default setting of humanity, which is I exist and therefore,
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. They don't make that extra effort. And to me, it's like, and that's what's so frustrating, because I feel like the world would be such a better place if people would just do the nice things or the pleasant things.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Pick it apart.
So
Eric is supercharged right now.
Well, no, this is really good, because that's where entrepreneurship is a completely different animal, like we've been saying for weeks.
Okay.
Completely different animal, and you touched on it earlier, Matt, than working for an organization.
Right.
Working for an organization, especially an organization that doesn't pay too much attention to their culture of, culture is a tough word, but you understand what I mean. That the culture,
their environment,
right? And permits employees to basically meander along or not exude the niceties, or they don't. I don't know. There's no leaders within that organization that understand the power of kindness, right?
Yeah.
So if that's how that organization is running, it can make an acceptable profit and maybe even be really profitable. I don't know, and operate the way they do, and the public's not too, I should say, turned off by it, because that's kind of what the public expects. Now, on entrepreneurship, in my opinion, and it's just one man's opinion, unless you're selling something that no one else on the planet has and there's a huge want for this product, you can't maneuver in a coarse and impolite way and really expect a high probability of success. You have to make people, at least, even if they don't choose your business, but at least consider you, because you put your best foot forward, and that's usually through kindness, right? It's a different animal. You can't. I like this word. You can't maneuver as an entrepreneur the same way you may have gotten away with it as a financial analyst at a large organization.
Correct.
It's two completely different schemes.
Well, yeah, in corporate, you're a cog in a machine. And as an entrepreneur, you are the business, right? So people do business with others that they like and trust. So as an entrepreneur, you have to be likable and trustworthy.
You might not see that. If
you can't see it as an entrepreneur, you shouldn't be in the business, in my opinion.
No. I'm saying, good point. I'm saying if you're in a cubicle environment, let's say, in a big company, and you are a cog, you're one out of like 100 people in your department, answering phone calls all day.
Yep.
Now, answering phone calls, you would kind of, I think, get that, hey, if I'm more pleasant, people, they're going to be more pleasant to me. But let's just say you don't get it. You're just in the doldrums day in, day out, grinding it. I get it. It would be kind of repetitive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And then you make that leap to be an entrepreneur. You cannot take that same mindset into a venture where you are competing and trying to differentiate yourself and get people to trust and do business with you. It's a different thing. And if you're not willing to self-evaluate and maybe change your default mechanism of kindness, you're going to fail.
Absolutely.
They're not similar.
No, not at all.
Because you were successful in making middle management at a large firm does not necessarily mean you have it inside already in your mechanism to become a successful entrepreneur at anything, especially if you can't turn on that interpersonal skill of kindness.
Yeah, I mean, again, very few instances as an entrepreneur can you get away with not dealing with people in some level, right? So you have to be able, if you have one, if I would tell people, if someone asked me what's the one skill I absolutely have to be successful as an entrepreneur, my answer would be the ability to connect and relate to people. That's it. And you do that through being kind, through being pleasant.
That's the best way.
That's the easiest way.
And the easiest way.
Right, that's the easiest way. And in my mind, it's the only way. Because how else, if I wasn't kind, would I connect with anybody?
No.
They're going to think I'm the jerk. Like, they're not going to. They may do a transaction with me because I may be the best at that transaction, but that's all it is to them, a transaction. I'm in a business where it's a relationship.
So let's talk about that. So when we first started working together, we took the friendship to the business level.
Yeah.
I hired you as my attorney, and you hired me as your realtor, right? First thing you said to me was something about, and it was complimentary. You said, I like the way you handle your practice because most realtors I've encountered seem like friendly people, but they were strictly in it for the transaction.
Exactly right. Yes, 100%.
And I pondered that for a long time.
Yeah.
It did make me feel very good about my profession.
No, but it gives you the edge because you look at it differently. You do it differently.
I think I do,
Absolutely.
but it's like that was an impactful statement you make because no one had ever put it to me like that.
And that's really what it is. And that's, I think, in any business, especially as a service provider. Let's take selling products aside, but if you're a service provider as an entrepreneur, your ability to build relationships is the one skill you need to develop and master. Because if you cannot do that, you will only be dealing with transactions, and eventually transactions stop. Like, I look at the way we've built our practice. I've built solid and unbelievable relationships with my clients that they go above and beyond to connect me to people that need our help.
100%.
Now, if it was a transaction, they'd be like, I dealt with this one lawyer before, if you want to give them a call. These people would go above and beyond to make sure that person calls me because they know I'm the right guy to help them because I've spent the time developing the relationship. I've treated the people with decency, honesty, integrity, and kindness. That's just my default in that situation. But I think as an entrepreneur, you have to understand that it's a skill that can be learned and a skill that can be developed and honed and mastered. It takes work, it takes effort, but that is the one skill you have to master to be successful, the ability to connect and relate and build relationships with people. That will make you successful as an entrepreneur.
Can't get much more solid advice than that. That's good stuff.
Giving good advice today, man.
Yeah, we are just moving along here. All right, friends, the Entrepreneur Life. Rocco Koza, Eric McKenna, Matt Durzik, Beaver County Radio, 1230 WBVP, and 1460 WMBA, and of course on 95.7 and 99.3 FM, always presented by our friends at St. Barnabas and always streaming live at beavercountyradio.com. We will return.
Hey, listeners. Duquesne Light Company is hosting a free community day at Carnegie Science Center on Sunday, August 7th. Enjoy a fun day to end the summer with science. All visitors get free admission to the exhibits, Highmark Sports Works, and even the guitar exhibit, Buell Planetarium, and the submarine. Get there early because there's limited space in the planetarium shows, the USS Raquin submarine, and the sign shows. Make summer memories on 4 floors of fun, hands-on exhibits, and see the guitar, the instrument that rocked the world exhibit before it leaves Pittsburgh. Travel to distant galaxies in the new Buell Planetarium, one of the most advanced planetariums in the country. Tell your friends about it too. Log on to carnegiesciencecenter.org to reserve tickets. Powered by Duquesne Light Company.
.7 and 99.3 FM, along with WBVP, WMBA, and BeaverCountyRadio.com, invite you to tune in to Sounds of Faith. Tune in Sunday mornings from 7 until 9 for a mix of the best sacred music of all time. Sounds of Faith is brought to you by Crawford Tire and Beaver, the William Murphy Funeral Home, City Rescue Mission, MRS Physical Therapy, Circle of Friends, J&J Spratt Funeral Home, and Rome Monument and Inspirational Gifts. Sounds of Faith, uplifting, relaxing, and inspiring radio. Sunday mornings from 7 until 9 on 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with WBVP, WMBA, and BeaverCountyRadio.com.
Now entering our 75th year of serving Beaver County. You're listening to 99.3 FM, 95.7 FM, 1230 WBVP, and 1460 WMBA. Part of the St. Barnabas Radio Network.
Learn deep breathing.
We need a meditation chair in here, man.
It's just, we're going to go there.
Let's go there.
We're going to go there, friends.
Like it's just gonna be one camera and just all three of us are lying down with like lavalier mics. Just be like, so
a Zen moment.
So what are we talking about today?
A Zen moment. Oh, that would be funny, right?
Yes.
I know we joke a lot of times about like stuff like we talk about, like, oh, we should record the breaks and everything like that. Well, I want to bring something that we did talk about on the break.
Sure. Okay. Sure.
Because you were talking about the idea of sort of kindness and how that would apply to just a simple thing like being a pizza person, being a pizza delivery guy or being anything like that.
I won't say simple, like an elemental job, like elemental business.
Right.
Small retail establishment.
Right, an uncomplicated business.
Yes,
theoretically, yeah,
yeah. So, I think going back to why it is that people aren't so, obviously we talk about the effort part of it. I also think there's an interesting thing, too, because, Rocco, you talked about being empathetic and sort of understanding, what's the situation somebody's going through.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of that, but it's on the opposite side of the good. So, like, for example, let's say you walk into your hole-in-the-wall pizza parlor or Chinese place and you get your food. And you know what's going on back there. You know that they're not, it's sort of a dingy place. They're just sort of, running through the mill, making their money, making their food, and that's it. You don't, and you realize that, and they sort of realize that you realize that there doesn't have to be this. I mean, obviously, if you were kinder, and it does kind of go back to the whole effort thing, if you were kinder, it would make things a little bit better. But at the same time, there's this understanding that it's not necessary. It would be better, but it's not necessary. So I think there's this empathy of,
no, you're on it. You're on something, but I'd
challenge this.
You first. You first, sir.
No, I'll wait till you finish your point.
No, I was going to say is that, I think there's a lot of times where people understand that a situation may not be the best. So they sort of empathize with that and sort of, go with that flow of, okay, I'm just, this at this point, just from the environment alone.
It's a transaction.
Exactly. It's a transaction.
Okay. So let's unpack this a little bit. Okay. So we'll use a Chinese food restaurant, right? So they serve a product. There's no kindness. It's just $10 for chicken and broccoli. Okay, you're only ever going to be able to charge $10 for chicken and broccoli because it is a commodity in a transaction. You will never be able to increase your prices without adding that second level of service.
I don't know. It might be good chicken broccoli.
Well, listen, but what I'm saying is like then you've made by doing that you've made yourself a commodity that is easy to replace, right?
Oh.
If someone has chicken and broccoli that's just as good and they're nicer, I'm going to go there.
Yes.
I'm not going to. I have no relationship with you.
Yes.
Like a restaurant is the most successful restaurants have repeat customers. That's what makes them successful, right? Because there's only so many people that will try something. You want people to come back. There are certain restaurants that I will go to all the time because the service is top notch. Their food may be average, but their service is so good, I will keep giving them my money. Now, if their service was crap, I would go there once and never go back. I would try the food and move on. Now you have to keep acquiring as that business, right? This is the rub. Take that relationship out, transaction. The cost of acquiring a new customer is expensive, and you're constantly going to be in customer acquisition mode. When you are a business like a pizza shop or a Chinese food restaurant that has a level of service, you're in customer retention mode, which is a lot cheaper and a lot easier and makes the business a lot more successful.
And that is some of the very best advice. If you could just take the last 2 minutes and record that, some of the very best advice, not only for entrepreneurs, but more specifically for the business that I am in, real estate. What you just said here should be played for every new real estate agent. You can be, I guess, a transactional agent and have to go out and find a new customer all that time and not care about it if you're kind or not. Just acceptable. You're acceptable, right?
Yeah.
And not cultivate that relationship. And then every month you're running ads, you're paying. You have to find these new transactions because all that, they're not customers to you. They're just transactions. But if you cultivate that relationship, that one client satisfied and happy with you, people are kind, man. They'll go out of their way to bring you more business. That one client, I can honestly tell you, I'm thinking of one family in particular, the one sibling I worked with, that yielded to 7 other transactions over a 24-month period. It was unbelievable.
Yep.
You know, and that was just doing my thing and being kind and building a relationship with one person. The rest of the bit, and here you are, and this is the one thing that's hard to explain to a new entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But you'll get it right away. These are when you have a referral client, they're already warm.
Right.
You don't have to sell yourself to these people.
Yep.
You are being professionally recommended.
Yep.
You have the in. You really got to screw up the first meeting if you're going to lose them.
Exactly.
I mean, they want you there.
Yep. Exactly right.
That's the way to do business.
You know, something funny, you know, we were talking about sort of the element of sort of, you know, human interaction when it comes to these transactional things. One thing that jumped out to me right away, and this is something that you did, Eric, a few years ago, I want to say it was either 2017 or 18, it was a gimmick. It was an absolute gimmick, but it was something that, you know, sort of showcased that side of humanity, that I'm not just a transactional person. I understand what it's like to be, you know, an actual person. It was the free tacos thing.
Mm-hmm.
And even though it was sort of a cute, you know, sort of funny, gimmicky little thing that didn't, you know, venture into a whole lot of tacos, unless you have more details on that than I do.
Yeah, we did it for a year. I bought a lot of tacos.
But
tacos, man. You don't know about that,
I
do you?
don't know about anything. All I heard was free tacos.
Rocco
Where do I sign up?
Rocco didn't know me in the in the taco era, Matt.
No, man.
No, I did. It was a weird era.
I got no free tacos.
I'm a weird guy.
But it showcased, you know, because tacos have nothing to do directly with real estate, but because that sort of, it's like, hey, you know, I like tacos, and sort of, you know, you sort of vibe with that sort of section, you know, thing, and that's how you were able to become.
I have to go into. Should I
really need to know what
should
this
I
is.
enlighten you?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna eat some tacos later. I feel
okay. Okay. So I won't claim that. I definitely won't claim that it was a completely original idea. I might have stolen it from a realtor in Texas who was basically giving away free pizzas at closing.
Okay.
And what I did was, and again, tacos are a very common and beloved food. So I'm sure out there in the ether, other realtors have done this. I'm sure.
Right.
But I figured, well, I don't really like pizza. But man, people love tacos. I'm not even sure why, but they love them. I'm just going to do free tacos with the purchase of the house. As corny as that is, right? As corny. Now, I had the idea when I was at a larger brokerage prior.
Yes.
But they were the one dictating to me that I couldn't wear denim and I was never going to be successful if I had any other color car except one and all this craziness. I knew it wouldn't fly there.
I wonder who you're talking about.
But the moment I got to the more independent brokerage and I had the leeway and freedom to do it, I figured, hey, you know what? I'm truly left alone. I'm doing my own thing. I'm an entrepreneur. Let's do something because, ads are expensive. Whether it's radio, television, billboards, ads are expensive.
Yes.
Let's find something that people will see, associate with my name, and say, that's either the stupidest thing I ever seen and corny, or I'll find that niche and people that'll dig my sense of humor, which is all I really ever wanted.
Yes.
Just, I want my people, right? I'm not worried about the rest. I'll find my people.
Yeah.
And whether I get their business or not, it'll be funny. So I created this rider sign on my real estate. It said, free tacos with purchase of home, ! And it had calleric.com on the bottom, which is one of my websites. Okay, well, I had 7 or 8 listings at the time, and 5 of those 7 or 8 were agreeable to put this on there. The other 2 were like, they thought it was a little corny, and they were upscale neighborhoods, and I got it, right?
Yeah.
I got it. Although we had that on an $800,000 home, and they thought it was the greatest thing ever. The point was, it was an instant hit. So I didn't even understand social media, the power of it. Because if we're talking 2017, 2017. And I really didn't even understand Instagram really that well then. But people would drive by and see it and either think it was completely stupid, look at this crazy idiot, or look how cool this is. Well, that stuff would go viral. And then that got, I canceled all of my ads on a competitive station here. I even canceled my extra buys, because this was giving me an influx of people. And I had people actually calling and saying, did you really? And I said, well, you know what? I'm not going to advertise something and actually not do it.
Right.
So I made the thing is I will bring taco platters to the closing table. And then my closing company politely asked me, can we do something else? Not really keen about having tacos and taco sauce and people eating at the closing table with all the documents, right?
Well,
Nancy wouldn't dig that, I'm sure. But because I use Rocco's closing company. I won't do that to you, Nancy. But then we started giving away gift cards, and I would basically like mix it up a little bit. I'd go to like, Moe's, or I go to Chipotle, or if they had a particular one they wanted to, I would go get that.
Yeah.
And we gave, I mean, it was usually between $150 to $300 in gift cards, because that's, because
That's
hey,
awesome.
I had to make it worthwhile.
It's a lot of tacos.
But my point was, I ran it for a year. But like any good campaign, I didn't want to beat it to death. And you do it for a period of time, and it really was a good growth spurt for my practice.
Yeah.
I don't look back on it, but nothing was. I might do it again. I did it because it made people smile. I did it because it was funny.
Yep.
I did it because it was harmless, and a lot of what I do, Matt, people weren't experiencing joy in the transactions. I was noticing that as a young agent. How can I be a disruptor and bring joy to the process?
Yes.
And what you did was make it personable.
Bingo.
That's so like our first billboard we did. Like, I mean, we wanted to show our personality as a law firm. So we literally, our first billboard literally said, it had our picture and it said, "We're on a big sign. We're kind of a big deal." That's literally all it said. And it was just because it's our sarcastic, funny personality.
You need that,
and I can't tell you how many people reached out and said, "Oh, I saw your billboard. That's hilarious. I love it." And we can't say we got a boatload of business, but it gave us brand awareness, and and that's the thing.
But isn't laughter and comedy also connected with kindness?
Yes.
Isn't that a form of kindness?
That's how you build relationships.
You make people smile, right?
Yes, that's what it's about.
And here's the thing, sort of going back to one of the points I had in this show, and something we talked about last week, is that a lot of people look at simple things like that, like free tacos, like we're on a big sign, and think, oh, that's just what if somebody sees that and thinks it's like the stupidest thing ever? Yeah. Again,
don't care.
Going back to last week, not everyone is going to like you, and that's okay.
Exactly right. Yes, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
You can't lose. You can't lose people that you never had in the first place.
I want that.
That's a great point, man.
I want that because, to your point, if I don't get that, I have to assume that a portion of society is being disingenuous in their kindness to me, or they're nice. They're just being nice, right? I want your most unvarnished, authentic self, because then I know where the battle lines are drawn. And battle's a goofy word. I just know where the line is, where my folks are, and other nice people that just don't dig me. I need to know where to spend my time, because we only have so much time, right? You're not going to go spend time with a bunch of people that don't like you, right? No, why would you do that? Same thing in business. You need to find your people. And I think for the longest time, Rocco, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this, because I only had this epiphany like 5 or 6 years ago. I want to find my people that, that I'm for them. And it goes back to that line my father said many years ago, which is self-aggrandizing, but it's like, son, you're an acquired taste, because my dad thought I was nuts, and I get it. But he was right. He was saying, look, you wear your emotions on your shirt sleeve pretty much, and you like weird, quirky things. You're a different kind of egg, right? So you're kind of an acquired taste. You're not for everybody. And the more I pondered that, and the more I got on this radio station, and you and I, Matt, sat across week after week, I realized there's nothing wrong. I mean, emotionally, I can handle it. I can handle the daggers. I'm totally fine with putting my most authentic self out there and being an active realtor and a person that's engaging and just someone that wants to have fun with people, right? Have fun in the process. That just resonated. And the more success I had with it, the more I said, look, in other aspects of my life, and now through the Eric McKenna project, I had to kind of craft what we were doing. But if you go to my website or my social media post, what you see is exactly who I am. Yeah. For better or worse. And I'm not for everybody. But I assure you, if we do connect on this, you're going to get the best of me. Yep. And I think as an entrepreneur, that's a great mentality to take. Give them your most authentic self. Be okay with yourself. Understand yourself and who you are. Put that as the face of your business, and then give the best service you can with a smile. It's a real simple equation.
Yeah, and understand not everybody's going to like you. But I think a lot of entrepreneurs come out of the gates and think that everyone has to like me. I have to be for everyone.
And how does that happen? Let's go there. How does that mentality get into the human brain? Like, how does that happen?
Well, so let's break it down. So, as an entrepreneur getting started in business, right? I think they believe that they need to cast a wide net. So I can't maybe be my authentic self because I don't want to lose customers I don't have yet. They're still trying to figure out who their market is.
Fair.
And how big their market is.
Fair.
But what I think that does, that wastes a lot of time, energy, and effort. Because I think if you come out of the gates and just be who you are, then people know from day one what they're getting. Because what I've seen happen and where I've seen entrepreneurs go wrong, where they come out of the gates and they try and be everything to everyone. That's not their true self, right? So they may have a little bit of success, get some different customers. And then once they start crafting or figuring out who they are, maybe they already knew who they were, and they're showing it more, they start losing customers. Like, well, that's not the person I signed up with. That's not the person I dealt with. So then that has, in my mind, a more negative impact, because now, instead of not attracting those clients in the first place, which they were never an issue, now you've turned your current clients away, which becomes an issue.
100%.
And that's where I think the problem is. I think people try and cast this wide net because they're worried about business. And we got to get as much business as possible. So let's try and be everything to everyone. I mean, I probably was guilty of that when I first started the practice, thinking I had to be the lawyer. But then I said, no, that's not who I am. And then once I figured out what we were, made things a lot easier.
I think there's also elements of fear and extremism in the whole thing, where if you don't, there's probably this mindset of, if somebody doesn't like me, then there's the possibility that they might hate me, and therefore, sort of be this pin that sort of pops the balloon. And I think that goes for not just entrepreneurship, but just life in general, where you think, okay, who among these people that I don't know is going to go after me? And the reality is, if that's the thing, then first of all, you should start to think to yourself, why would they be going after me? Because if there's nothing for them to go after you for, full speed ahead. Yeah,
it's and that's, I can't really relate to that, but I do understand what you're saying, because I see it a lot. Like it's a sad kind of mindset where you're looking at the world as, this person has the potential not only not to like me, but to come after me. I never look at you. I do understand that a lot of people don't dig me. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fine. But I don't think that those folks are like looking to get me. Now, some of them might be,
Sure.
but I'm okay, I guess, in the back of my mind, knowing that that's a possibility, I guess. But that's not the forefront.
Well, and I think so. It's funny you say this. I was watching a video of Simon Sinek's last night, and he was talking about when he spoke at Microsoft and Apple when they first came out with the iPod and the Zune, and he said he said I was
Zoom,
the Zune or whatever it was called.
Zune.
So he said I was.
Yep, I remember.
He said I was in a cab with one of the executives from Apple, and he had just spoke at the Microsoft event. And he said to the guy, he's like, "Hey, I just spoke at this Microsoft event. They gave me one of their Zunes. It's amazing. Does all this stuff." And the guy from Apple was like, "I'm sure it does." And that was it. He's like, now, if I was in the car with a Microsoft guy and said, "Hey, I was just spoke at this Apple event, and I looked at their new iPod, and it's amazing," they would have said, "What does it do?" They said, because Microsoft was always worried about their competition. Apple was always competing with themselves.
Interesting.
And to me, that's that rang, because that's how I think as a law firm. Like, I'm not worrying about any other firm.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're competing with ourselves, and how do we keep getting better? And we know we're not always going to be the best. And that's kind of how Apple said. They know there's going to be products that are going to be better than them. But all they're doing is they're on a constant journey of continuous improvement. And if you're an entrepreneur and you start looking at the world that way, don't worry about what other people think. Don't worry about who's going to like you or not like you. Just how can you get better than you were the day before? And if you constantly keep that as your frame of reference as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, you will ultimately be successful, because you're only looking at how do you get better, not what your competition is doing.
So I don't know if I have enough time to go into this before the break, but
I'm sure you do.
I'm going to try it. So, okay. When I started the guitar business, I put out
big net. I thought I wanted to get as many clients as possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't really thinking about people not liking me, digging me, where are my people at? Early on, though, I made a mistake. I equated finding my people, my fellow guitar enthusiasts that are like me, I equated it to a style of product, right? Instead, I should have really just put myself out there in my most authentic self, unabashedly, and let the people that dug what I was doing in my company migrate to me. What I did was I said, well, I think I mentioned it on this show. There's two types of guitar players, a Stratocaster style and a Les Paul style, right? Two big factions in music. And I personally love Gibsons. They were my kind of music, and and I'm going to, Les Paul, I really want to attract Les Paul players. Those are my kind of people, right? Very limiting. What I found was that my kind of people are from all walks of life, all disciplines, and all kinds of, guitar enthusiasts. It evolved to finding my kind of customer, right? But initially, I made a mistake to kind of equate my kind of people with a certain product.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people that sell lines of goods and so forth are in a very, a very specific kind of business where there's loyalties built into products. They associate their personality with a product, and I think that's dangerous.
Yeah, you let the product dictate the personality instead of the personality dictating the product.
1,000%. And then once I realized that, hey, let me just put the real Boogie Street, the real Eric McKenna out there and let the chips fall where they may. Well, all of a sudden now, wait a second, maybe I can do Stratocaster guitars. Look at these great people that are coming. These are great people, man. We have the same backgrounds. We're talking about music we love, and we're talking about the guitar styles. And wait a second, my thought was so limiting. So again, it's a growth thing, right?
Yeah.
But it was cast a wide net, then realize I thought, I'm going to figure out my niche. My niche was product dictating to me as opposed to my personality dictating the clients that would come to me.
Well, it goes back to the point you were talking about earlier. If you're unless you're selling something that's so unique and that's so desired, then you can't sell just the product. You have to sell the business, the ethos of the business itself.
100%.
So, and again, it's the first thing I thought was a car dealership. It's like, okay, cars are everywhere. Cars are sold by different dealerships everywhere. You drive through any town, there's a car dealership. And so it's like, okay, I could buy one here, 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 here. What's going to separate me from one or the other?
Good analogy. That's a good, and I will tell you, it's funny because there was a big car dealership close to my hometown. I don't want to say names because people will know. But they, for the longest time in the 80s, talked about this one brand of car, and their name was actually so closely associated with this one brand of GM product. Use your mind. Okay, but that's all you ever heard. Well, when you hear the radio ads and you'd hear the cable TV, you see the cable TV ads, you thought of this guy's name and this brand.
Yeah.
So and why they're the best. They constantly. This brand's the best because of these reasons, and no brand does it like da 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 da. Well, I grew up hearing that. So my first inclination when I was going to get a car was, well, I'm going to go talk to him. And I want one of those. And then all of a sudden, business changes, and now he has. Oh, wait a second. He has a Chrysler product there too. Now he's GM and Chrysler. Oh. He also has this Honda thing. I'm dating myself. It's early 80s. My point to you was I was associating this man with one product, and then he added all this other, and so it was like, he was a good guy to deal with, but it wasn't specific to that product in the market. You see what I mean? And I think a lot of people were confused. We looked at him almost like, well, he lost a little credibility. For so long, he's saying this is the best product imaginable. He's just selling us on him, and it's one product, and da-da-da. Oh, wait a second. These are just as good now? These other two are just as good? It just it confused.
But let me, I will debate that for
Please
a moment.
do.
Because I think, maybe that was him looking at the marketplace. Because I think a lot of.
Oh, no, he should have done it. I'm okay with him doing it. But I'm saying we were so ingrained for decade or two. That name, that brand, right?
Yeah.
Then when he added other ones, all of a sudden it was like, well, wait a second, they're not the best?
Yeah.
I mean, like, it was like, I'm making this up. Multiple people would come to me, hey, look at that. I guess those aren't the best cars.
Yeah.
I mean, the best cars. Is he saying these aren't as good? I mean,
I get that. And I think maybe where this person went wrong at the beginning is claiming one is the best when
they
maybe
all do it.
But I think it's the best. It's the best for the customer that needs this type of car.
Bingo. That was my point.
Yes, like that, and that's where people need to understand. Like where I think a lot of entrepreneurs go wrong, business owners in general, is you're not looking at it from the customer's perspective. Like you have to put yourself in the customer's shoes, and what are they looking for?
100%.
I was at a meeting this week. We were talking about hiring people, and this is something that I didn't realize that we're not. I said, why aren't we looking at our jobs that we're hiring for in the way we interview and the environment we've created? Is this what the potential employee would want? And try and figure out more of not what we're looking for. What are they looking for? And is this a match? So literally, this meeting I went to on Wednesday completely changed my framework for how we're going to hire people moving forward. Like I think about that from a customer or client perspective. I wasn't thinking about that from a potential employee perspective, but it's so simple. And it just made me flip the switch. Like, wow, I need to start looking at it from that. Like, what are they looking for? Why are they here? What do they want from us? And is this the right fit? And I think people don't do that.
Oh, man. The irony of this whole thing was that 4 years later, after I made this, decision in the beginning to choose Les Paul guitars and Gibsons, I ended up signing this contract with Washburn, a company with not the same level of prestige as a Gibson or a Fender, right?
Right.
But because I had built all this goodwill and because my name was at the forefront and because I was connecting with people, they were willing to give this brand a chance. And I could show them the attributes of it, yada, yada, yada. But it was truly relationship-based. You can take people in different directions and expose people to different things and possibly have some success. But ultimately, you're only going to do that if the relationship is grounded in honesty and integrity and it exists.
Yeah.
And if you're a transactional person, selling a widget and leaving them afterwards, you're done.
Free tacos will get me into a relationship any day of the week.
I'm sure it will, man. Friends, the Entrepreneur Life, Rocco Koza, Eric McKenna, Matt Durzik. We will return.
Falling in love is one thing. Having anxiety about falling is a whole different subject. If you or a family member are concerned about falling, and yes, either up or down the stairs, or maybe even out of bed, St. Barnabas has a special message and some ideas just for you. Years of experience in working with people who are prone to falls has given St. Barnabas special expertise in this area. Call them at 724-443-0700 and learn about ways that you can begin to feel more confident and safe, including suggestions that you can implement right now into your daily routine. Call St. Barnabas at 724-443-0700. For many years now, St. Barnabas has been helping people fall in love, that is, with their new, better life, a longer life, a risk-free life. Call St. Barnabas now at 724-443-0700 or visit stbarnabashealthsystem.com and learn more about living longer and better.
Register today for the 7th annual Dr. Susan K. Leone Memorial Golf Scramble for Scleroderma on August 13th at Mill Creek Golf Course in Borden. That's Saturday, August 13th, 9 a.m. at Mill Creek Golf Course. For more information, go to sfohio.org. That's sfohio.org. Register today. All proceeds benefit the National Scleroderma Foundation, dedicated to support, education, and research. Go to sfohio.org.
The ballpark is coming into your living room or the dashboard of your car. That's because Pirates Baseball is on Beaver County Radio. Set the dial to WBVP WMBA 99.3 FM or 95.7 FM, and then turn the volume up to hear the most beautiful sound in the world. Pirates Baseball is sure to be a hit this year, and it's presented locally by the Beer Falls Municipal Authority, Express Employment Professionals, Dr. C. Timothy Lipp, Falcones Boone Township Board, Keystone Wellness Program, and St. Barnabas, among others, right here on Beaver County Radio.
St. Barnabas began serving people as a skilled nursing home in 1900. Fellow St. Barnabas radio network station WJAS started broadcasting in 1922. So it's only fitting that another member of their team is also now celebrating a big milestone of service. Beaver County Radio is in our 75th anniversary year. Now that's apart from the ordinary.
I'm only rolling on like 3.5 hours of sleep. And I was in the shower this morning going, I don't know if I got the energy, man. I hope I don't like.
You're full of energy today.
I don't know
This
where.
is the most energetic you've been.
But I don't know
It's
where
that
it's
Quest bar you got on the
coming
way
from.
here,
Oh,
man.
you know what it is?
That
Yeah,
protein bar,
I,
man.
I got a Quest protein bar, but I also
kind of jacked.
They are not officially sponsored of the show.
No, yeah, they're not.
They're not.
Although
they're delicious.
Yeah, they are delicious. It might be the combination of the coffee and the Diet Coke together.
Yeah, that will probably do it.
That will wire me up.
I'm nowhere near a health expert, but I can probably. Yeah.
Well, I had coffee and an energy drink, so.
Well, yeah, but
feeling
you're
good.
But you're always on.
Caffeine does nothing to me.
Really?
No, it doesn't.
I'm just running on sheer willpower right now. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
I'm running on sheer happiness and joy.
Happiness and joy.
Happy, joy.
Well, that's a good song. That's Ren and Stimpy.
That is Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, man, that goes way back.
Way back, man.
Way back.
Yeah, it's when I was pretty much born.
Oh, ouch.
God, sorry.
Yeah, that's pretty tragic, right?
What, the fact that I was born?
No, the age period.
Yeah.
We're very glad you're here. We thank you, folks.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
Okay. Yesterday, I felt compelled as I was coming out of a client meeting to write something on social media, and I want to share it with you both. I basically said the following, and I don't have the exact verbiage, but it's close to this. I said, some of the very best joy I've ever experienced in life has been for the success of my friends and loved ones. And all I'm saying is I have had so many friends and family members in my life that have accomplished amazing things to me, amazing to me. And I've seen the smiles, and I've shared in so many other people's successes, and consequently in my journey, people have shared in mine as well. But I have really gotten a lot of smiles and a lot of joy by seeing the success, especially of my entrepreneurial friends.
Yeah.
It really gives me joy. That's not a line.
No.
I'm telling you, man. I mean, I was authentic. Believe me, what you see is what you get. When I tell you I was happy for someone, I am genuinely happy for them. And I let them know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that to me is like a reaffirmation that this whole crazy capitalistic entrepreneurial thing is good. It's positive.
100%.
It changes lives, man.
Yep, it does.
You know?
It's freedom. It's
at the very front, it's freedom.
And I love
sure.
I love the fact when you're around people. Like I love being around successful entrepreneurs. One, because it does bring a sense of joy, because I like seeing other people's success. Two, it also motivates you. It pushes you in a different direction. I mean, I think that's the cliched quote is, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and that is so true. And I've learned that every year it keeps getting solidified even more and more in my head, and that's why I want to be around the best people. I want to be around people that are better than me. So I'm going to constantly try and level up, and that's what life's about. If you're not, I look at life as a game, right? And if I equate it to a video game, the whole purpose of life is to keep leveling up. Like if you just want to stay stagnant and just be like, okay, like that's not how I look at life. And like, what's the point of that? What's the point of just waking up every day and just being the same and not trying to learn new things or surround yourself with different people or hear different ideas? And that's why entrepreneurship, in my mind, is so special and so powerful when done correctly, because it, like, you and I met through this whole journey, and it's like, and it leads to so many things. And I think people have to look at life that way, that if you're willing to take that risk, it can lead to it'll be hard, right? And there'll be some challenges and some gateways you have to go through, but if you just keep pushing, where the places you'll go and the people you'll meet and the things you will discuss and learn you can't put a price on them.
I couldn't agree with you more.
It's amazing.
I've told Rocco this before. I was standing in Los Angeles, 2008 maybe, and I won't name drop. I will not do it, but I was at a place in a musical place, concert. I was backstage before the show. It was a hospitality room. Lots of luminaries, people that I had. I said to myself, I have no business being in this room. Now, I had every business being in that room,
right?
But I looked around. I said, I am some schmuck from Coriopolis that barely got out of high school, but I had some weird idea. And here, like, you know, at that time, it would have been like 7-8 years later. I'm standing here, you know, like my thing was anything can happen.
Yeah.
Like this entrepreneurial thing, anything can happen to anybody.
Yep.
And I'm proof of that, you know. And now my specific thing isn't for everybody. You know, I have no delusions that that's impressive to anybody. But to me, it was a big flipping deal.
Absolutely.
You know, like I don't know how this happened, but I did know how it happened because I just simply decided to get up and do something toward a goal.
To make the decision. You decided to make a decision.
Yeah. Now, I could have taken another path and probably have just as happy a life, but the experiences would be quite different. And so it really comes down to what you want. No one has to be an entrepreneur. It's not for most people.
Exactly. It's not.
But I still love the idea of like, you know, Matt, when I think of someone who gets up every day and does something dynamic, you know, and is well thought and well rounded, it's Matt. I mean, to get up every day and come on and get on the public radio and create a show that basically is the character of yourself.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that is not an ordinary thing. The average person is not doing that stuff. Now, hopefully they're doing other kind of dynamic, cool stuff.
Yeah.
But this unique thing you're doing, this takes a certain kind of desire.
Absolutely.
And discipline, all that goes with it. It's not,
right.
It's discipline.
It is discipline.
Yeah, but your life is so much more enriched by doing this, I would think, than if you just, I don't know, lounged around, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's it is a cool thing, you know, because I mean,
media is cool.
Whenever you hear this, you know, this whole thing of, you know, like even just like random people coming down the street, it's like, you know, oh, I'm glad you're doing that thing. You know, keep up the good work. And I was like, I don't know you, but that made my day.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
amazing.
Exactly.
But here's the thing. This is what I noticed, and I had to have a rather famous musician, not the one you're thinking, but a rather famous, tell me to take all that in, because I would say, oh, you know, I don't. People will say the nicest things to me, and you're like, listen, this is a reaffirmation that what you did was good.
Yep.
And it's working.
Yep.
Take it in, smile, enjoy it. Friends, the Entrepreneur Life, Rocco Koza, Eric McKenna, Matt Durzik. Stay tuned for Town Hall News.
You're listening to 95.7 FM, 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls and 1460 WMBA Ambridge.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. In eastern Kentucky, a slow cleanup and recovery is underway after flash flooding at the end of July. Many of those casualties personal for Knott County Coroner and Funeral Director Corey Watson.
I was retrieving people from scenes that I had known since I was a child or had seen that person grow up. And it's hard.
More than 36 people died in all. Some are still missing and feared dead. Meanwhile, there's been rare flash flooding in Death Valley.
Flash flooding triggered by heavy rainfall forced officials to close all roads in and out of Death Valley National Park near the California-Nevada line on Friday. The sudden rush of water and debris left about 500 visitors and 500 staff members unable to leave the park and buried about 60 vehicles in debris. It was the second major flooding event at the park this week. Keith Peters reporting.
Former President Trump rallied Republican supporters last night in Wisconsin.
We're just 3 months away from the most important midterm election in American history, and we need a landslide so big that the radical left cannot rig it or steal it.
The Save America rally took place in Waukesha. Meanwhile, conservative activists from America and other countries are gathering in Dallas today as CPAC 2022 continues. Former President Trump is slated to address the convention later today. This attendee now lives in Oklahoma but is originally from Canada and is warning that America needs to guard against the kind of erosion of rights taking place in his home country.
Canada is going full socialism, authoritarian, fascism, communism, whatever you want to call it, and the people have given it up in Canada freely. So it's not like Trudeau took it, people gave it to him, and he's not giving it back.
The annual CPAC conference wraps up tonight. This is townhall.com.
If you were lied to when buying a timeshare and want out, you need my help. Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, CEO and founder of Wesley Financial Group. 10 years ago, I started the timeshare cancellation industry by exposing the ugly truth about timeshare and giving folks the straight facts. I've been fighting the timeshare giants ever since, so no one knows this industry better than me and my team. Today, we have 383 employees and have saved our clients an average of $65,000 in lifetime payments. Imagine putting those timeshare dollars back in your pocket. If you were told at a timeshare presentation that this was available today and today only, that timeshare was a great investment, or your maintenance fees will never go up, call my office now. I guarantee you, if we take you as a client, we will cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call now for your free information kit. 800-881-4242. 800-881-4242. 800-881-4242.
Flight cancellations are continuing. This time, the culprit is weather, as correspondent Lisa Dwyer reports.
Thunderstorms on the East Coast are causing travel headaches for tens of thousands of airline passengers. Airlines canceled more than 1,100 flights in the United States by mid-afternoon Friday. The highest number of canceled flights were at 3 major airports in the New York City area: JFK, LaGuardia, and Newark, and at Reagan National Airport outside of Washington, D.C. According to the tracking service FlightAware, American Airlines scrubbed more than 200 flights, or 6% of its schedule. Republic Airways, which operates smaller planes for American Eagle, Delta Connection, and United Express, also canceled more than 200 flights, about 20% of its schedule. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
On Wall Street to end the week, it was a mixed bag. The Dow Jones Industrial Average up 76 points at 32,803. The NASDAQ lost 63. Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. 2 crashes involving Teslas apparently running on autopilot are drawing scrutiny from regulators.
The partially automated vehicles may not stop for motorcycles. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration sent investigation teams to 2 crashes last month in which Teslas collided with motorcycles on freeways in the darkness. The riders were killed. In both cases, the agency suspect that Tesla's partially automated driver assist system was in use.
That is John Scott reporting. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says China cannot isolate Taiwan.
They may try to keep Taiwan from visiting or participating in other places, but they will not isolate Taiwan by preventing us to travel there. We've had high-level visits, senators in the spring, a bipartisan way.
And Pelosi says U.S. lawmakers have been and will continue to make visits to Taiwan. More from townhall.com.
It's between us and Queen Elizabeth for the longest reign over a group of loyal followers.
It's a great pleasure that I welcome you all here this evening.
It's been a great 75-year run so far. Thanks for being part of Beaver County Radio. 99.3 FM, 95.7 FM, 1230 WBVP, and 1460 WMVA.
Oh, man, I love that song. I know I say it just about every other week, but I do. Yeah, I do.
Delightful song.
Yeah. Happy, it's called.
Yes. We're all happy today, man.
It's like a complete dichotomy there.
Sung by the newest member of the Disney lexicon.
He, you've been following that at all? He does not partake in any of that stuff.
I know what would make anyone think that. I mean, Johnny Rotten's not to Disney. He's not a Disney person. I would have never expected.
Yeah, I don't know what the story is, but he did not buy on that whole that Sex Pistols documentary thing. He did not. They didn't invite him.
Well, what's weird is that I'm always reminded of that because they have those commercials where it says, gear up for your summer fun. I'll see like the Sex Pistols. Like, this does not make any sense.
Yeah,
this doesn't belong.
The Sex Pistols in Disney, right off the bat, it's
doesn't
go together.
Sentence.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
And I think that's what Johnny's thing was. Like, look, really?
Right.
Really? So that's a shame. I wish he would have been involved in that. I actually heard the it's actually done pretty well as a story. I don't think it's very accurate. but I heard it's actually not that bad. But anyways, moving right along. I digress. 70s punk band. With a guy that doesn't brush his teeth. Yeah, we're talking about kindness now, right? So
I think so. Yeah. I don't know what
it's kind to brush your teeth.
Yeah.
Brush your teeth. It's very kind to you.
Solid transition. It's like this guy doesn't brush his teeth. Anyway, kindness.
Yes. Yeah, it's been just a really hyper excited show here today.
It really has been.
I'm fired up about kindness, right? I'm just because it does wonders. And look, my wife's probably listening in an airport somewhere laughing like, you kindness all the time? Really?
Here's the thing. And look, let's talk about that for a moment. Let's talk about that for a moment, because I think people need to understand it's okay if you're not kind all the time. Like, I am not kind every single interaction. I mean, there are days where I get mad and frustrated, and that's human nature, right? Mm-hmm. But if your default
have kids,
well, right, and it's and I love my kids, and I'm trying to be the best example for them. I mess up, I do the wrong things all the time, but it's the one thing I know I'm trying to instill in them is the power of kindness, and they get it. I think they do, and it's. But I also don't want to set unrealistic expectations for people. It's impossible to be kind 100% of the time. We're not, human beings are not wired that way. We have other emotions.
Jesus was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, did you know him? I mean, we know what history tells us.
I'm down with JC now.
Right. But what I'm saying is, I mean, if kindness was 100% of the time, we would have no other emotions.
Exactly.
And like, we have other emotions. It's okay. And I don't want people to think that, if you have a bad day, that's okay. There are many days where I could probably be a lot kinder to people.
Sure.
Or a lot, more pleasant to people.
Well, you're an attorney.
Yeah, but that's not an excuse for me to be,
No, it's not an excuse.
It's, but it's something that I think people get caught up in. Because when I've talked about this with other people, they're like, well, it's impossible to be kind all the time. I'm like, I'm not saying you got to be kind all the time. I'm saying in the interactions where it's a possibility, you do it.
100%. And that should be, and again, here we're back to this phrase again, but that I would think it should be for everybody as a goal to make it your default mechanism. Like you kind of like go to that, and you may not ultimately decide not to be kind.
Yeah.
At least your first inclination is to be kind.
Yeah, kill them with kindness.
That's a good that's a good internal training to get there.
Of course. That should be. I always say that's in any meeting I go into as a lawyer, right? If I'm in a negotiation, a contentious adversarial meeting, my natural instinct is to start the meeting from a framework of kindness. However, I can tell in the first 3 minutes if this is going to need to go a different way. And then that's when I can turn on a monster and be very cold and calculated if I have to be, and be very unemotional. Like, I've learned the ability to turn off my emotions in a situation. But my first instinct, in the first way I always come out of the gate, is with kindness. But if I can tell in those first minutes that's not going to work in the interaction, then I can flip a switch and turn emotion completely off and do exactly what needs to be done.
100%. 100%.
And that's the dark side exploration, Matt, that I was talking about on the break. Why don't you figure that out?
Right.
I'm telling you.
Well, again, I think it's another thing, too. I think, we talk about humanity and empathy. Humans are complex. They have a complex range of emotions.
Absolutely.
And I don't think, for anybody to expect one person to be one thing, and I think we were talking about this earlier, it is ridiculous because, even when it comes to, talk about, having the default setting of kindness, again, that's sort of the way to go. But, if you come off as kind all the time, then all of a sudden it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about the sort of phoniness thing. It's like, are you okay? Because some people say they're happy all the time. And then there's nothing wrong with that. But at some point you start to sort of wonder, because we talk about the human element, humans are complex. And if you don't have complex emotions, it comes across as inhumane. And so people are starting to be like, okay, well, now wait a minute, something's a little off here. I'm not sure about this. And so that's where I think, but I think,
can see that.
Yeah, but it's a very complicated situation because, you don't, obviously you want to be positive as much as you can, but to sort of force it where it's not needed, like Rocco said, would be a bad idea.
Especially because half the society is already completely jaded that any form of kindness has got to be up their sleeve, right?
Yeah, it's an ulterior motive, and that's sad that we're at that.
It's terribly
spot.
sad. Terribly sad
because it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, 100%. And I that's a whole nother series of shows to try to unpack how we got
bag of
how we
hammers.
got another bag of hands, and that wasn't mine. That must have been his. With that dude.
No, I think that was just mine.
Okay,
I think bag of hammers was just mine.
I thought you said bag of hands.
That was hammers. It was definitely hammers.
Yo,
I was like, I like that. Bag of hands, man. Where's your brain today?
We're saving that for the Halloween special.
Well, no, on my podcast table, I have those wooden articulating hands.
Yes,
the middle finger hands.
you
That's
do.
why I think a bag of hands.
I was wondering about those.
I love those things.
Well, here's the thing. I had one sitting in the corner, and when I would come in, invariably, people would grab it and bring it to the table and start playing around with it while they're talking. And I noticed it was making people comfortable, which was just a weird thing, right? So then I just bought each station its own set of hands. Yeah. And as George Costanza said in Seinfeld, you now have hand. You know? So there you go. It's like a simple concept, right?
We go all over the place here, man.
I love this show. I just love the people of Beaver County have been kind to me since 2016, and I like to say I'm their adopted son because I'm coming from Allegheny, but I had a lot of family in Hopewell too. So
yeah.
But since I came here, the amount of real estate that I've done and just the people have been so kind to me.
That's awesome.
Like, it's unbelievable. And so, I just love coming down here. Well, we come down here to see Matt, of course, too.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I this has been a really incredible journey.
Yeah,
it has been.
It's
not over. It's not over yet.
No, I mean, life is a journey, man. Come on. I mean, that's the whole point of all of this, right? Like when you look at entrepreneurship, that is, when you get to a certain level as an entrepreneur, I always encourage people to stop and look back. Because sometimes we don't do that. Like, I know I don't do that. Like, I don't always look and see how far we come.
You'll do that.
And it's sometimes you have to stop and turn around and say, wow, like, look what I've accomplished, or look what we've accomplished. And that's what makes the journey so special. And if you're not stopping and looking and just taking it in, what's the point? And I have to force myself to do that in many instances. But when you do, it's pretty special. It really is.
So Rocco knows, I think Matt knows too, that I journal, and it's pretty much every day. Some days more than others, but the week between Christmas and New Year's, going 13, 14 years now, 15 years, I've been taking that week off and then slowly rereading my entire year.
Wow.
And sometimes I reread it twice. And I'll sit down at one setting and do the whole thing. But I mean, over the course of that week, that kind of unwind that week anyways. That's always been my holiday week for me. But that is always been great to try to keep my memory fresh, but also relive the good and the bad.
Yeah.
I think we need to not be afraid of the bad times in our life, and not even to be afraid to revisit them once in a while to keep them real. Now, it might have been something you overcame, and I've had some rather terrible things happen in my life that probably aren't the most pleasant things to revisit, but I want to keep them real because that is part of my story and that's part of what's happened in my life. And I think that it's easier. It's always been easier to reflect on things, maybe not revel in them as much as I probably could have, but at least keep them really at the consciousness of the things we've been able to achieve, whether it was business, whether it was my kids, my marriages, the whole thing. There's always been something great about doing that. And again, if I could ever give anybody advice, especially a younger person, is to take the time to write, even if it's like if you have one good sentence today, put a date, write it, and then the next day write some more.
Yep.
And just don't be afraid.
And I think the key there is, and what you just said there, don't be afraid, and sort of make sure it's something that you're writing to yourself in all of its genuineness. Because I thought to myself, because my initial thought right out of the gate when you said that was, kids don't kids do that in the form of social media. I was like, wait, no, that's totally different. That's totally different.
Yeah, that's for public consumption.
That's for an audience. Yeah. And when
hopefully they understand that's for an audience.
Yeah.
Well,
and I didn't. This is this is not an original quote, but Jim Rohn said it, and I'll repeat it. He said, and I read this at the very beginning of my journaling journey, so to speak. He said, He said, my journals are for me. They're not for anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But if you looked in there, you'd realize how much value is in there.
Mm-hmm.
Worth certainly more than my couch will be when I leave this earth or my house.
Yeah.
Meaning that the life lessons of experiences and stories and everything that's in there is valuable, hopefully, to your who you leave it on to. We're not going to be here to know, but I would rather leave this tapestry of things and stories of my children's lives and photographs and all that stuff. I would rather give them all of that than, it's got to be more valuable to them than a pile of money. They may disagree, but ultimately that, I know I wish I had it as a child. I mean, how much photographs do you have as a child? Do you have a lot?
When I was a kid, not that many, no.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Yeah, I mean, a few that I remember, but not a ton, no.
I maybe have 7, 10 maybe.
School pictures, that's really it.
Yeah.
Sports pictures, but nothing like now, I mean, I have probably 14,000 photos on my phone.
Exactly. But I'm saying, though, this is where I think the more younger generations are really doing it right. They're I love the fact people are documenting. I don't think it's a bad thing. You can use documentation for sinister purposes if you're really inclined to do
Sure.
that. But the vast majority of humans are just doing an emotionally beautiful thing by capturing those moments.
Yeah.
And there's kindness wrapped in all of that,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I love photo sharing with people because, I have a new grandbaby, right? My stepdaughter had her child, and I have not held a baby in, like 17 years, 18 years. But, getting the family album updates like all day.
Yeah.
It's awesome, though. And I'm seeing this babe grow day in, day out. No, it's not obsessive, and no, it's not too much. I love every single second of it, as any grandparent will tell you. But that's a beautiful thing. That is kindness.
Yeah, of course.
And
journaling to me is being kind to yourself because it helps you work through problems. I journal as well. I don't do it every single day, but most days I do. And where I find it most beneficial is when I'm struggling with something, like either a problem, a challenge, emotionally, mentally. I just let my mind run and just write. It can be complete gibberish, but it always ends up helping me work out something.
Oh, 100%.
It's a powerful thing.
Journaling is hugely important, and I would say very important for an entrepreneur if they want to do something for themselves at the beginning. Just a little bit of advice.
Yep.
Friends, the Entrepreneur Life, Rocco Koza, Eric McKenna, Matt Durzik. We will come back with our final segment. Thank you for giving us a small part of your Saturday. Right back.
San Rocco Festa is back bigger and better than ever. Celebrate the 97th anniversary of the beloved San Rocco Festa next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at their new convenient location adjacent to the Beaver Valley Mall. Enjoy blockbuster entertainment as the Lights Out vocal group performs tributes to Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons and the Beach Boys. Hear local favorite Mojo Daya and the Usual Suspects, the fabulous Frankie Capri, and from New York City, the Italian singing duo of Louis and Joanne. Take in a spectacular Zambelli fireworks show on Saturday and the traditional Italian baby doll dance on Sunday. Admission is only $3 and free for children under 13 with an adult. Plenty of free on-site parking, too. Don't miss the San Rocco Festa. Don't miss the San Rocco Festa held adjacent to the Beaver Valley Mall next Friday through Sunday, hosted by the San Rocco Cultural Committee and sponsored by the Beaver Valley Auto Mall. Details at sanroccofesta.org.
Hi, folks. I'm with our good friend John Diagardi from Roe Monument. John, you were telling me earlier that people really should not rush into choosing a memorial for their loved one. Now, why is that?
We found that families need to take ample time to grieve first. Grief is not something that we get over, but rather something that we learn to live with. So the length of time to grieve varies from person to person.
You mentioned that the monument can't be placed right away.
That's right. There are certain things that need to take place before a monument can be installed. So it's really worth taking time to think about how to plan and design a memorial that truly reflects a person's life. It's actually a healing activity that helps to alleviate grief.
John, this makes a lot of sense.
It does, and when the time is right to proceed, not only can Roe Monument help families choose and design their memorial, we can help them save as much as 50% by eliminating the middleman.
Thank you, John. Folks, you can learn more simply by visiting RoeMonuments.com.
Now entering our 75th year of serving Beaver County. You're listening to 99.3 FM, 95.7 FM, 1230 WBVP and 1460 WMBA. Part of the St. Barnabas Radio Network.
I'm going to toot his horn because he won't do it himself. But, friends, you can reach Rocco Koza at kozalaw.com.
Toot toot.
Toot toot. Entertainment business
We're going
attorney.
so well.
Good dude. Yeah, that was on him, man.
I know.
He did that. Usually I'm the one being scorned over here, but he actually did that goofy stuff this time.
Well, welcome back, Rocco.
Welcome back.
Thank you. It's been stored up for 3
business attorney. You're not a regular attorney.
No.
You're a business.
Thanks, man. You finally figured it out. It's amazing.
I made the mistake one time of calling Rocco a regular attorney in conversation.
Yes.
So I was trying to talk about another point, and I just didn't realize what came out of my mouth. I said regular attorney.
I realized it the moment that word came out.
Yeah, I know. It was an accident. He's never let me live that down. But yeah, you can reach him at kozalaw.com. Entertainment, business, wills and estates, all that stuff. We do all that stuff.
Litigation. We
Litigation.
do it all.
He does it all.
I don't do it all. My team does
and
it
he, I mean, he doesn't want to admit this, but I know as the firm continues to grow, you're going to end up handling everything at some point in time.
There's things we won't do, obviously.
We'll
I don't think we won't. I'm telling you right now. But it's
as your friend, I'm saying we'll see.
We're having fun. That's all that matters, man. I'm fortunate with the team I have.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah. And you can check out Rocco on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat, I guess.
TikTok, man.
TikTok.
Yeah.
And if you can't find Rocco, you're not looking very hard. He should be your go-to for sure. Friends, I am and continue to be and have been since the mid-2010s your personal realtor.
Not a regular one.
Not a regular one. Your personal. Touche, my friend, touche. I've been on this here station since 2016. The show used to be called Real Estate with Eric McKenna, your personal realtor. Then it was the Eric McKenna Show. Matt's been with me all this time. We did all kinds of crazy stuff on this here airwaves talk show about. We've had aliens and we've done everything.
Music and
Backstreet Boys. Yeah, Rob Cool actually said on this. I think I told you. Rob Cool, my go-to lender, great friend. He actually came on this show and told Matt and I to our faces that the Backstreet Boys were the greatest rock band ever.
I don't think he said rock. I think he just said band.
Oh, I thought he said rock.
Not that it really matters.
All right. No, well, yeah. So that was a very monumental moment.
Yeah.
We've never let Rob live that down. I still think he believes that nonsense.
But I've let him let down. I mean, I don't agree with him, but I mean,
I'm a fan.
We've had a lot of fun. So, and I could be reached obviously at ericmckenna.com, and of course,
the podcast, man.
Yeah, the podcast. I know the Eric McKenna Project. It's this like 800-pound gorilla. We birthed it, and it just continues to grow. It's not like King Kong size now, right?
It's
like
fantastic.
Non-commercial. We don't have any sponsors. We don't do any ads. We don't do any reads. We're not trying to sell you anything. My real estate practice is not advertised on this podcast. It's not that. It's a pure discussion show, self-funded. Available on YouTube and Facebook, on Apple and Google and Spotify and all those things. But, of course, you can reach the show, too, and watch it at ericmckenna.com. And there's some other information there about my realtor practice, some Boogie Street Guitars history there. We're getting ready to launch Boogie Street clothing. We're going to be bringing back some of the iconic designs and graphics because folks want them. So we're going to give the folks what they want. We're going to release that, and attached to every shirt will be a $5 contribution to a charity. We're leaning toward one right now. I don't want to announce it because I'm not quite ready. I want to make sure that I know which of the two we're going to choose. But each piece of clothing, like we did in years prior, will have a charity contribution to it, and I'm very happy about that. We're going to see if we raise as much money as we possibly can and have a lot of fun. So,
love it.
Again, that's ericmckenna.com and kozalaw.com.
Yeah.
And we have a couple minutes left. I want to turn this to Matt for a second and just get one particular point of view, sir.
Okay.
Is it going to be Trubinsky?
I'm not real sure right now.
I'm sure. I'll say it like this. I'm sure it's going to be Trubisky. I'm not so sure if Trubisky's the right guy.
Rocco?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I don't. It's tough.
I think it has to be Trubisky, if for no other reason than the money. Has to be.
Have you had a chance to follow along what the beat reporters have been saying as they've been watching the practices unfold?
Vaguely. And I've seen that there's been a lot of, dubiousness as far as whether or not Trubisky is the guy that is going to be, leading the way for the Steelers.
Because right now, the consensus seems to be that Mason Rudolph is far ahead of the two of them in terms of performance.
Really?
Uh-huh. Yeah, wouldn't that be interesting if it ended up being Rudolph?
It would
the
be
helm.
But it's these kinds of moments that make the preseason necessary.
Yeah, 100%.
absolutely right.
We've never been in this situation since 2003, 2004?
2004.
Like yeah. Think about that. That's interesting. I think there's I think there's another level of excitement for Steeler fans now. Right? This is exciting to talk about. This is exciting.
Well, again, going back to what we've been talking about this entire episode, you see it a different way. You see it from an optimistic perspective of excitement. A lot of people are seeing it from the perspective, we might have screwed this up. They might have screwed this up, and this may not be the best season in the history of the franchise, which, again, you're not going to win all the games, just like not everybody's going to like you, but
this team hasn't gone past the first round of playoffs in 5 years, 7 years, something like that.
I want to say it was 6 years. I want to say it was 2016.
There you go. So that's my point. Like, you were expecting a Super Bowl from a team that might need a couple years to rebuild.
And we got a new name of the stadium, which kind of.
Oh yeah, that did happen while you were gone.
Yeah, the whole.
And what does that? See, what does that matter? Like, what people? Pittsburghers are so unique, man.
We don't like change, man.
What difference does it make?
It's the worst name of a stadium. Terrible.
How about the yellow seats? I think the yellow seats are much more offensive visually than the name of the stadium. Whoever decided to build that well, let's talk about the whole stadium's a monstrosity.
Yeah, it is.
It's a poor tribute to an SEC stadium with yellow seats. Well, anyways, friends, this has been. I'm sorry, Steeler Nation. This has been the Entrepreneur Life. Rocco Koza, Matt Durzik. I am Eric McKenna. Reach Rocco at kozalaw.com. Reach me at ericmckenna.com, and check out the Eric McKenna Project podcast. We'll see you next week. Be good to each other.
Yep.
Thanks for listening to The Entrepreneur Life with attorney and author Rocco Koza, along with realtor and podcaster Eric McKenna. Content and sponsorship have been provided by Rocco Koza and Eric McKenna. Tune in next Saturday at 10:30 a.m.